All right, Jay-Z is here. I'm anxious to speak to him. I've been reading his book. Guy's got a fascinating life. There he is, the famous Jay-Z.
Hey.
All right. I've been reading your book. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Well, when's the last time I saw you?
You got the Janet Jackson mic.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah. You look like Janet now.
Yeah.
How are you been?
What's up? What's happening?
Well, you know, you're happening. I was reading your book. I said, first of all, it's a good-looking book. It's like a piece of art. I have it sitting out like a coffee table book in a way. And brought it home. Is that a Andy Warhol picture on the front?
Rorschach, yeah.
Yeah, Rorschach.
Yeah.
And you made it like an art book. Someone said to me, gee, you know, the Jay-Z book is kind of an expensive book. I go, yeah, it's an art book. If you read it, there's a lot of beautiful pictures and things. I imagine you took a long time on this thing.
Yeah, I collect art. I got into art recently about 5 years ago or so. And I just, you know.
Have you bought a Warhol?
Yeah, I got a couple, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, because how do you get that picture for your cover? Don't you have to get some kind of a licensing thing going on?
Yeah, we called the Andy Warhol estate. They cleared it in one day, which was amazing. I was very happy about that. I actually have one of those Rorschachs over my fireplace in my living room.
Talk to me about that for a second. When you start to make real money, and I got a million questions for you about this, but all of a sudden you decide to get into the art world, and you yourself say in your book you're a hustler. Don't you feel like you could be getting hustled in the sense that I don't know anything about this art? I didn't grow up in this environment.
Why does it cost so much?
Scares the shit out of me that someone's going to rip me off because I don't know that I don't know what you paid for your Warhol, but I imagine it was pricey.
Well, that's life, you know. You feel that way with anything that you come across as an adult, whether it be someone's music, you know, or someone's art. It's all about art. If you like it, I try to buy things that resonate with me. So,
where do you go to buy art? I mean, how do you know what to buy?
And does it have to be somebody with a name, or can you just look at something like that?
No, I have everything from Andy Warhol to Tim Noble and Sue Simmons, like, who are fairly new. It's just pretty much things that I like. I have an Ed Ruscha. Ed Ruscha is very famous as well. But it's just a picture and it says Annie. And for me, you know, I made Hard Knock Life. Annie's my sister's name as well, and which made me look at the movie Annie growing up. You know, it meant something to me. When I look at that, I think of the song that I made. You know, David Hammond's has it's just this huge painting with bricks on the bottom. It reminds me of the projects where I come from. So it's just things that resonate with me, whether it makes a ton of money or not.
You know what's funny to me too? When I'm thinking about it, you say you went to the Andy Warhol estate and you got the cover art for the book in one day. Hard Knock Life, with getting the clearance for the Annie song, you had to hustle them because they wouldn't clear your usage of Annie.
Right.
So you wrote them a letter saying how when you were in high school, I think, you wrote a paper about Annie and that Annie really means something to you and this and that and the other thing.
Read the book, man. Thank you.
You're goddamn right I read the book. Yeah, I mean, you sat there and said, wow, I gotta work this situation.
Those old instincts clicked back in. You know, I knew it was a major, important song for me. And for, you know, a lot of people that come from where I came from. So, yeah.
Marcy Projects.
Yeah, I painted a couple little lies for the truth, and it worked out great. Yeah.
There's one story in your book that, it's funny how I read a book. I kind of flip around. Your book's easy to do that with. I can just flip around. I went to the epilogue, you call it. At the end, you talk about meeting Oprah Winfrey. And I just figured this was going to be a case of you and Oprah Winfrey hitting it off, and she's in love with you and the whole thing. But it was just the opposite. She totally didn't get you, and it was rather uncomfortable. She didn't understand where you're coming from. You don't put her down for it.
Right.
But, like, I'm sure the song 99 Bitches, she thinks is about a woman, when in
99
fact...
Problems.
Well, yeah, 99 Problems and a bitch ain't one. She probably thinks bitches mean women. She probably thinks that the whole use of the N-word, you point out, she's not down with that. She can't get it. Doesn't make her feel comfortable.
In fact, Oprah just banned bitch from her network.
Right. So when you go into a situation like that, is it the most uncomfortable thing in the world for you? Are you nervous?
Nah, it's actually comfortable for me because I know the things and the emotions that I stand on are true, and I can have that conversation with anybody. And Oprah's out, one of our heroes. So for her to understand, it meant a lot to me. But no, I wasn't nervous. I knew, like we come up in different eras. So the N word to her has different meaning. It's like it's so close to the civil rights moment and. The last word people heard as they were being hung from a tree. But, and for our generation, we took that word and turned it into a term of endearment because words are, people give words power. If we take words off a network, and that's her choice. If we take words off a network or we take words off the table, the words are just changed, not the attitude. We have to change the attitude and not the words.
You explained sort of the whole hip-hop rap thing to me because you made a couple of points, but one of them was, and this really resonated with me, you say in the book Michael Jackson's Thriller is the best album ever made. I disagree with that. I don't get Michael Jackson. He wasn't to me, Sgt. Pepper's was the greatest thing, and having grown up in a black neighborhood, everyone looked
Sgt. Pepper's like top 5.
Yeah, top 5, right?
Yeah, it's incredible.
But I imagine for a kid growing up where you grew up, Thriller is the record. But you said, as a black man, I couldn't relate to Michael Jackson. I couldn't relate to all these Jerry Curl guys like Prince. Prince is a genius, and you could mark off that Michael Jackson and Prince. You could put up with them because they're such geniuses. Okay, they're eccentric. But when rap hit, it was guys who looked like you, guys you could relate to. Almost sent a chill up my spine in a way because it's true. Everybody else was a freak. You can't relate to Michael Jackson and Prince, even though they're musical geniuses. So everything started to change for you. You started to think, well, man, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could make poems. Maybe I could rap. And what was really...
It brought an incredible... Sorry to cut you off. Yeah. It brought an incredible talent closer to home. It resonated closer to me. Because Michael Jackson and Prince, they were so far removed from who we were every day. And the music they were making was so difficult to make. That rap brought it closer for us to tell these stories and have these emotions and speak these emotions, and it brought it into a real way.
Yeah.
Like we were telling stories of things that happened yesterday.
Right.
It became news. It became instant. It became things that were happening, real time.
It's the way you got your news in a sense.
Yeah.
I was shocked, but you were a little boy. You would go around writing poems in this little... you almost say a chicken scroll up the sides of pages all over the place. You would write these little notes to yourself, little poems, rhymes and things, and your friends would steal them from you. They would steal your rhymes. That's that's such a betrayal. But you don't seem all that pissed off about it in the book.
They just really wanted to go to school and get some girls. It wasn't so deep.
I mean, people recognized that you were a great rapper when you were a little kid. They didn't call it rap even at that point. They just understood your poems were strong.
People understood before I really understood. Like my cousin especially, he wouldn't speak to me for years. Me and my cousin didn't speak for 3-4 years. Because he thought I was wasting my talent when I was on the street hustling and not pursuing my dreams every day, actively every day. I was pursuing them in my mind, and I was still writing, But for me, life was happening now. I needed to move now, and I couldn't wait for rap.
Yeah, you've had a weird life. Here's why I think your life is weird. You're the type of guy who had this talent and all this, but at the same point, you were like this crack dealer and hustler. And the reason it's so weird is when you're that artistic and you got so many things going on inside you could have lit a landmine in your life and just gone to jail for a really long time.
Absolutely.
I mean, you weren't screwing around. Or got killed.
Yeah.
You shot your brother in the shoulder, I believe, point blank pretty much, didn't you? Because he was fucking around with you.
Yeah.
You're an angry guy.
Yeah.
Do you think your anger comes from your father leaving you?
Of course. Yeah.
It's got to be,
it was
right?
Around the time. I was around 12. My pop left about 11. Anywhere between those years of foggy, anywhere between 9 and 11, my pop left. I had a bunch of anger.
Did you have a close relationship with him up until that point?
Yeah, the closest.
When you're growing up in your household, your mother and father seem like they're getting along okay, or are they fighting all the time?
Well, our house was the party house, so we had a huge record collection. They had, it was little hints. My mom and pop had their names on their own records. They could share kids, but they didn't share records. Which is weird looking back on it. But You know, we had a ton of records, Reel of Real, which is, you
The
know,
tape
especially
thing,
especially in Marcy was